Welcome back to the Rhonda Swan Show. Well, this series has definitely proven itself to be exactly what the intention that we set, which is to interview those that have fallen in love with their impact, that have taken situations in their life and turned it into something beautiful that not only has shifted their life, but is shifting others' lives. That's the conversation we have today. And this queen that I'm getting ready to introduce is going to be nothing less than amazing. So my next guest is Genevieve. She is the optimization queen, a next level integrative wellness and empowerment mentor for women embracing their queendom. Fusing epigenetics, embodiment, and empowerment, she is here to guide women to thrive. She is a Buteyko breathing instructor, a pH 360 endorsed health coach, Thor laser practitioner, flow state and ecstatic breathwork facilitator, ancestral nutrition mentor, colon hydrotherapist. This woman has done it all, but she's having journeyed in and facilitated countless sharing circles and deep inner experiences. She's no stranger to transformational spaces and holds a clear, grounded, and safe presence. Genevieve is a life learner with 23 years of experience in dedicated formal and informal learning, and a co-author to the upcoming books Embrace Your Feminescence and the Woman Gone Wild Wealth Series book. She has presented at numerous conferences, usually fusing science and the sacred topics, including epigenetics and why your inner inheritance doesn't have to be your destiny. And maybe it's not all you, the role of ancestral trauma. I am so excited to have this woman on my show. Genevieve, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I think I need to put on my crown.
Yes, the queen with her crown. I love it. You're so dynamic. I love everything about you. Your energy exudes what you really stand for. And I want to tap into this because, you know, when I was reading your bio and going through, and I know I'm learning a lot about you because you're going to be in this upcoming book, and you talk a lot about ancestral traumas. And I think that's something that we need to talk about first, because the amount of people in this world, most all of us have had this type of trauma. However, we haven't either addressed it, we're not aware of it, and we don't know or don't realize that all of these things that may have happened to our past are what comes through us into our current present. I ask this because this is something, Genevieve, I really have been tapping into deeply the last several years, just clearing out that ancestral trauma, and so that I could be sovereign, my daughter could be sovereign. And as I was learning, it was blowing my mind that the things that I was doing in my life were all because of these things that were happening to me and into my ancestors' life and then throughout our, DNA. So what do you say, babe? Let's start there. How are you?
It's such a fascinating topic. It's particularly, when I first, back a bit, I actually heard about intergenerational epigenetics probably in my early 20s, and I think I was watching like the ABC something, and I remember listening to this show and they were saying about how that our grandparents' experiences flow down through the generations and how they can impact us. And I remember getting goosebumps all over my body. And then I had left it, and I didn't come back to it really until about maybe only 5 years ago. And where I was, there were quite an alternative community where I was living, and they were all talking about ancestral trauma. And I immediately went into, where's your personal responsibility? Stop blaming it on everyone else. Stop bypassing.
Right. Wow.
So I didn't actually dive into it until after, like a bit after that. And I just actually almost accidentally found the pathway. So once I discovered that there is actually a physiological pathway that happens within our bodies, it's called intergenerational or transgenerational epigenetic imprinting. And once I learned that, it was game-changing, absolutely game-changing. So yes, there is a physical pathway that the experiences, the stories, the choices, the environment, the lives that our ancestors lived can be passed down and is passed down through the generations, and it lands in us. And I actually like to think about intergenerational epigenetics as little love letters from our ancestors. They're like, these are the things that happened. These are things that happened to me, and it's really important that my lineage, my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren know about this stuff so that they can be prepared, right? So I need to mark it on their DNA so they know how to interact with these circumstances. And that's really great, except when you have a world that changes as rapidly as ours does. And so the experiences of our grandparents, our great-grandparents, even our parents, isn't actually as relevant to us now as what it was. And our environment, our lifestyles, everything around us is changing so quickly and so dramatically that what was really useful, what would have been very useful information if we had stayed in the same environment, if we'd stayed in the same place, if we'd had the same experiences, would have been very useful for us. But because we have such change in our lives, it's actually not useful, and it can often get in the way of us. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's really big, because if you think about, like, success, right? People get stuck and they wonder, why can't I get to this level? Why can't I get to this level? And I think there's a lot of things that happen in our lives. If we just learned how to address it or learned how to clear it, then so many more openings do happen. So let me ask you then, what really got you into really doing what you're doing today? Because you do call yourself the optimization queen. So there's obviously something that came from that and brought you into the level of work that you're doing. Because I remember when we first met, you're like, it's actually really hard for me to actually explain what it is that I do, because you really tap into it. So I'd like to learn more about that, because I think this is like when someone's really tapping in to their divine connection, their divine channel, is that's when you really can't explain it, because there's magic behind that.
It's so true. It's so true. I got into this from my own life experience, as so many women and so many people who are really passionate about making a difference do. It's because I've lived it.
Yep.
And so I had very early sexual trauma, and that was 4 with a neighbor. And from that, a whole bunch of things kind of happened. It impacted my physical body, impacted the way I grew, it impacted the way my spine grew. I ended up I've got quite intense but well-balanced scoliosis, so you can't really tell by looking at me, but I've been addressing that, and it's about nearly 70% fixed, which is amazing. So it was like this early impact, and then obviously cultural experiences and definitely ancestral experiences playing out in my body. And then when I was 18, I was raped at 18, and that led into eating disorders and depression, medicated for depression for a number of years, like lots of things that I just couldn't move through. And I think that was the piece ultimately when I got into the ancestral stuff. It was like, well, I've looked at this and I've looked at this and I've looked at this and I've addressed my food and I've addressed my emotional health and I've seen counselors and I've seen psychologists, and getting onto my environment, that was really key. And understanding epigenetics, which is it's basically the science of how we interact with our world and our lives.
Whoa.
So
say that again. Yeah, go into that, because this is like the essence of what we're talking about right now. Like, this is everything. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, it's the science of how we physically, emotionally, spiritually interact with our lives, with the world around us. So we're these incredibly intelligent, wise, vast, brilliant beings, and we're constantly assessing what's happening around us. So that's in the lighting that we use, it's in the food that we eat, it's in the beliefs that we have, it's in the relationships we have, it's in the thoughts we experience. It's every single aspect of our lives has an influence, and we're constantly in this dance between being our authentic selves and also responding to the world around us. And we're so brilliant. Like, we're so brilliant because we're constantly assessing what's happening around me, how do I need to respond? What's happening around me, how do I need to respond? We don't even know this. Like, we don't know that we're doing this, but the amount of information that our body is navigating and responding to in every moment is insane. We're brilliant. I think that's one of my biggest things is that's come out of all of this is our bodies are on our side. Our bodies are on our side. They are our greatest allies. And, we have these thoughts about why isn't my body working and like do all of these things and it doesn't, it's not doing the thing I want it to do. Your body is always on your side and there is some purpose as to what's going on. So whether that's because you're living in a physical environment that is not suited to you, whether you're eating the food, whether you're keeping a timetable, a schedule that your body just doesn't like, whether it's emotional stuff that you haven't dealt with, whether it's stuff from your ancestors that is playing out in your life, all of these things need to be factored in in order to become our optimal selves.
So, this is great. I want to ask you though, because I think, would you say that that society itself has actually caused us to also be unaware of all these things, of how beautiful and amazing our body is?
Absolutely.
What do you think the cost has been at us being unconscious, right? And to now
the cost is the world that we're living in right now. The cost is the fact that we've shut our whole planet down because everyone is terrified everyone's terrified of what they don't understand.
Yeah.
And it's overwhelming. We have one of the other issues. It's not just about being unconscious, but there's also this anxiety that comes with over specialization. So we've got a world that is so focused on specialization down to the tiniest, subatomic levels. And so when it comes to our personal health, we go, how could I possibly know that? Of course I'm not going to know what's good for me. Of course I'm going to have to leave that up to the experts. And so we just hand over our power in every part of our lives, but particularly around our health and wellness. We hand it over and get someone else to look after it because it's so overwhelming.
Yeah.
And yet it doesn't have to be. There's a lot, but actually it's really quite simple. It's really quite simple. It's remembering, first of all, that we're animals and that we are naturally aligned to the rhythms and the frequency, and we're aligned to the earth. And if we're not in sync with the earth, if we're not in sync with our own rhythm, if we're not in sync with the rhythm of the earth, we're going to have problems. That's the first thing, and we're so disconnected.
And let's stay with the first one because I want to go to the next one. But I think it's so true. I mean, if you look around and you see so many, like we're living in this world that like we're in it, we're not with it, right? Like, I'm always recalling because I'm always very transparent, especially on my shows, like what I've gone through. Like the moment that I just started re-earthing, and I would go away 5 days. I usually do it 2 to 3 times a year. Go away 5 days by myself in the middle of nowhere, just in nature, nothing, just water, and just earth. Like literally naked, laying in the middle of the grass, just re-earthing. Because, even though I'm conscious of knowing that I need to stay connected to the earth, we naturally, with all this technology, all these things we've got, we all of a sudden start to get detached. And I think that the society they're not even seeing it. This is why we want to talk about this stuff and bring this to people's awareness, because the moment they just re-earth yourself, realign yourself with the rhythm of the earth, it's so simple actually.
So simple.
It's
so simple. It doesn't mean it's easy. I'm really fortunate where I live because we've made very conscious and deliberate choices that have meant we've let go of other things in order to be more connected to the earth more of the time.
Yeah.
But I recognize that there are a lot of people who are like, well, how am I going to connect to the earth? I live in on the 23rd floor in the middle of the city.
So how can they? What does others do that are in these cities and there's all this stuff around them? What could they do?
The beautiful thing about humans is I feel like we're constantly in this game of chess. It's like, okay, move, counter move, counter move. And so in the optimization space, in the biohacking space, there are products that are being created all of the time to be able to support that. And yes, the more disconnected you are from the earth, the more you will have to do to reconnect. But there are things like earthing products that you can install in your houses to do that. If you live near a park, just getting outside, going to the park, taking your shoes off, or wearing sandals that have like earthing plugs in the bottom, because probably the park's sprayed with DDT. And maybe don't put your feet on that.
Yeah, it's so true, right? Gosh, how terrible.
But you can like have a layer of protection between you and the DDT and still be connected to the frequency of the earth. So there are options, and lighting is a massive thing. That's massive because it's all of the things all the time. We're on devices that in the middle of the night, it's like pre-electricity, that just wasn't an option. So it hasn't even been it's like 150 years that we've suddenly gone, oh, I can actually stay up and do whatever I want to do in the middle of the night. Whereas before that, it was, you have to go to bed, or you've only got candlelight, which we're attuned to, it's fire. Mm-hmm. But once you start bringing in electricity, it changes it. Yeah. But in true human style, we have a problem, we resolve the problem. And so the innovation around that is red light therapy and blue light blocking glasses and filters for your screens and things like that. So there's always ways. Yeah.
Yeah. So then tell me more then, what is it that you're now doing? Because I love that when people have a problem, right? And then they turn that, which you've done, healing yourself and looking into it. Now you've taken that into something that you can leave an impact, create legacy, and help others also get through that. So what is now the work that you're doing because of all of these findings?
Yeah. So one of my core things is I as you said, have spent 23 years kind of gathering all of this stuff, working it all out, putting all of the pieces together, because I put pieces together that other people don't necessarily put together. There's people in the biohacking space, but they don't necessarily look at ancestry. There's people in the, empowerment space, but they're not even necessarily looking at your food properly. So you need to fuse all of this. So I've fused all of these things. And my deepest desire is that we are able to retrain ourselves and learn so that we can become the leading authorities in our own health and wellness. So that is what I'm starting. So I've already been doing that, but now I'm creating a 6-month whole woman wellness and empowerment mentorship program.
Wow.
It's going to be 1-to-1 at the moment, and I'll turn it into a group program, but at the moment it's fully bespoke, curated, 6 months. We deep dive, and I will take you through all of it, start to finish, the whole bit.
So this is amazing, because I know that there's, especially my audience, right? There's so many women that are like, they're looking for answers. They're looking for leadership. They're looking for the right answers. However, it's interesting, because I usually will say, you got to really tap in. I mean, I'm honest. I sat in over hundreds and hundreds of hours overnight around a fire in a number of different medicine ceremonies to finally just get myself regrounded, just to actually let go of the mind that was trying to figure all the stuff out, and to just get and sit with myself and sit with the fire and sit with my ancestors, right? And then that's what it took to break me. Like a lot of people have these things that I needed to just break it so that I could just wow, this is my truest essence. I found my true essence. And I think this is what people are searching for, right? They're searching for someone that can be organic and authentic and guide them through the things that they, either the shadow they don't want to see, or the things they're afraid, or maybe not even knowing what they should be looking for either.
I think that's the thing. And I feel particularly at the moment, it's really the current situation, the current climate that's driven this next piece for me, because I feel like there are people who are starting to question things that they have believed previously to be just obvious truth, and now they're starting to go, I don't know if that's true anymore, but I don't know where to start.
Mm-hmm.
So I do feel like I act as a bridge for people to, where they're open, they're like, okay, I know I need to do something. I'm willing, I'm committed, I'm strong, I can put my energy into this, I'm resilient, I know I'm capable, I know I'm all of these things, but I'm going to need a guide and a mentor, and I don't have 23 years to do it myself.
Yeah. I mean, that's about how long it took me as well, 6 months to 8 months, when I just really went deep. And I had to be so committed, right? I mean, it's committed. And however, what happens on the outside, I mean, I don't know the promises that you make, and I don't know if you can make any, but I can say, when I did this work, my life completely shifted. I mean, my relationship with my husband just became brilliant and beautiful. Just the way that I presented myself, I was being so much more attracting and magnetic to so many different amazing opportunities and humans and things that were coming, because I had to get clear on the stuff that just wasn't serving me anymore. I mean, I always ask people, what is it worth if it took you 6 months to completely transform your life? Would you give it that time? And I think that's where I love leaning into women, especially like you, that are holding that space, because a lot of people are just trying to patchwork it, take a pill, ignore it, drink it to death. Like, but that's not living,
It's not, and it at best it will make it marginally better, or numb it, or make it less painful. But it's not a solution. And we're in a world where we're constantly fed, this is your solution's in this pill. It's not in the pill, let me say, from someone who's had a lot of pills, that's taken a lot of things, being medicated for depression. It was not in the medication for depression. It was not there. I had to break that. And I weaned myself off that. Not that I would recommend this for other people, but I didn't have a mentor. And so I had to make these decisions to gradually sort of extract myself from all of these different parts and all of these different external voices that were telling me, this is what you need to do. It's like, well, how can you tell me that this is what I need to do? You don't even know me. I've been here 5 minutes. You don't know me. You don't know anything about me. And so I love sitting, and yes, I have a lot of information, and data. So that's sort of the part of it. And then the next piece, so I work with epigenetics, which includes environment, experience, and ancestry. And then we move into embodiment. So that's taking it out of the head and into the body. And that's, so it's shifting from the brain and the mind into our physicality, because everything, we carry everything in our body. And your body will show you what's happening. Once you learn to listen, you'll be able to just look at your body or feel your body and be like, oh yeah, that's going on, probably need to address that. So, and then also looking at things like working with ceremony to bypass the mind and go straight to the subconscious mind. And so I also teach people how to create their own ceremonies for themselves. So all of my stuff is around, I don't want to be your guru. I don't want to be with you for the next 20 years. I want you to go, great, we've been together 6 months and I'm running with this. I've got all of these tools, all of these resources, all of this information, all of this experience. Yeah, and I'm going to fully own it and take it out into the world on my terms. That's my jam.
I love it. That's exactly what it should be, right? You should be able to, and this is what happens. People emerge, right? Like someone like you, like myself. We learn something and we fix our own selves, but so many cannot they can't pull themselves out of it. Like I had eating disorders, right? I was a professional bodybuilder, identity and, you know, body shaming, didn't even know what it was coming from, but I was able to get through it. And now to be able to be that stand for someone, but I think most women, they get close, but they fall back, right? They get close and they fall back. And so this type of work, the ones that stand up and say, I'm going to hold this space for you, it's not about let me stick with you forever, because that's the old system, right? The new earth operating system isn't you're broken, let me stay with you forever. It's no, let's give you the tools. You got this.
And I feel like that's one of the reasons why it's been so hard for me to explain what I do, because that's not the current system. The current system is I'll be your guru. And it's
Exactly.
like I'm so not interested in that.
No, and no one should be, right? We are sovereign beings. Like we're not broken, we're sovereign beings. We've got ourselves stuck in a rut. Get through it, teach the brain, reconnect with your body, and right, then we have it inside of us. And it's like, every conversation I've been having has been this strong, like this powerful, because, and it's like out of nowhere, like this series was all about those that have taken their impact and turned it in, or taken something that's happened in their life and turned it into impact. It's like, poof, poof, so big, right? And I think this is the message people need to hear. Genevieve, I love what you do. I love what you stand for. Where can people learn more about this 6-month program? Because I have thousands of women that are going to be watching. How do they learn more about you, get more of your content?
So I am on Instagram, I am on Facebook. My jam is actually this. My jam is sitting down and having a deep conversation. And so social media have quite a we're not like the best of friends.
Love, hate.
But yeah, really. So it's application only. I take 2 women a month.
Mm-hmm.
So I onboard 2 women a month, and that's we'll be starting in December, but I'm going to keep people posted. It'll be December or maybe January. I'm feeling actually January might be amazing for people like, okay, new year, let's nail 2022. Let's transform myself and vicariously the world around me and vicariously the greater world. New year, let's start again. So for that journey, it will be an application process. It will be, we'll be getting into a conversation. We'll jump on a call and we'll actually see if we're a match, because 6 months of this level is a lot. And we need to know that we're going to vibe with each other. I need to know that I will be able to work with you, and you need to know that you're going to be able to work with me for that period of time. So
well, we'll make sure that everyone knows we have all your links and all that here, so everyone can see it in all the show notes and all the places that this has been placed, because we want more of this to come out. We want more women to hear this. We want more women to understand that there is a way. They're not locked. They can heal, they can shift, they can change. And when you have some sister support around you, a lot more can actually happen. And, you know, and for that's why I'm so grateful for you to be here. And we'll be seeing you not only in the Women Gone Wild book, you're in the Feminescence book, and the Wild Network, that this content will not have to be suppressed or have problems with social media.
Yeah.
Which is
that was
great.
another thing. I was like, my stealth mission, what did I say? My stealth mission is health and wellness, sovereignty and empowerment for the planet.
Amazing.
And then I was like, do I say the word sovereignty?
Yes.
I'm going to get shut down. And what
I know,
that's
believe me, I know.
What I'm finding is I can't say those words. And yet I feel like probably the women who really need me are in that system. They don't necessarily know about alternative areas. And how do I speak? You know, I'm finding it quite...
It's challenging because it's like we're fighting against a force that doesn't want us to actually talk about it, right?
Absolutely.
Which is why I built this network. And seriously, I didn't have time, I didn't have the energy to do it. Like, it's a necessity because our message needs to be heard, and the right women will be showing up there because those are the ones that are more conscious, more aware, or they're looking for something that is an answer. And so it's big. Keep talking, keep doing it. They may not want to show it, but don't worry, it'll be able to be live very, very soon, because the moment that we suppress our own voices just to abide to be seen is the moment that we are not doing honor to what we stand for, and that is our sovereignty and what our message deserves to be heard by the world. And we just have to find our ways to do it. So let's do that.
Absolutely.
I love you, dear. Thank you so much for being here today. You're amazing. I can't wait to work and learn more closely from you, and to see the transformation that comes out of your space. It's absolutely amazing. And for that, I am honored.
So exciting. Thank you so much for having me on. Super fun. And yeah, I can't wait either. Imagine that world. Imagine that world where we've got people, women and men rising together, claiming their sovereignty, claiming their potential, claiming their fullest expression, and going out and making their own impacts in their own way, because they are clear and they are well and they are healthy and they've got the energy and the vitality to be able to actually do what they want to do.
Imagine that.
Imagine
world.
that.
I'm going to leave you all with that. Imagine that world where we're all sovereign. We're all working together harmoniously. We're balancing our masculine, our feminine. We are honoring the divine sacred union.
Absolutely.
And we are thriving together. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Don't forget to be unstoppable and stay wild. We'll see you on the next show.